Sweetwater City Commission to order and ask Jerry Hendricks from First Baptist Church to do the invocation and Commissioner Lee to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray this morning. Lord, it's so good to be here, and we thank you for this day that you've given to us. And God, we thank you for the opportunities that lie ahead of us. God, for this next hour or so, I pray that you'd guide these and make decisions. And God, help us as we serve this community. God, awaken us to the needs that are around us, just as you've awakened us this morning to a beautiful day. God, we lift this prayer up today in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Join me in prayer. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. I'm gonna just take off on this next agenda item, and then we'll turn it back over to the mayor. I want to just let y'all know I'm really thrilled today to have representatives of the Sweetwater Rotary Club and the Sweetwater Lions Club, Kirby Andrews, and the Kiwanis. Okay, all right. Kirby and Thea and Orlando are here today. We have a special presentation we'd like to make. Several months ago, Grant came out to one of the local service clubs and made a presentation on a Lucas CPR device. And one of the attendees at the meeting was so impressed that he made a donation to purchase one of these for the city, a significant gift on an individual. And but Grant told us during the presentation that we really need two of these, one for each ambulance. And we were inspired by this one individual's guest to get these service organizations together and see how much money we could raise toward the purchase of a second Lucas device, so both ambulances would be fully equipped. Do we have a total on?
Got
about 15,000. So very, very close. Well, actually, I think the purchase price on the Lucas device is 17,000. So this is a huge, huge step these organizations have taken. I want to thank them. And Grant,
Yes.
We have three wise people bringing gifts for you. Maybe not magi, but they have a gift they'd like to make to you. Yeah, and we want to get a picture for this for the paper, please.
On behalf of the Sweetwater Rotary Club, we'd like to present you this check for $7,500.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the Sweetwater Lions Club, we're going to give you $4,200.
Wow. Thank you so much.
And on behalf of Kiwanis Club of Sweetwater, we'd like to present this check.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
And if y'all would like, I would like to show you. I know y'all have seen it. I don't know that y'all have seen it. I know some of you have. I don't think many people here have seen it. Unless you work for the city.
Yeah, give it to Patty.
I brought the Lucas device to demonstrate it. For those that haven't seen it, it's just a real quick demonstration. Yeah, it looks like that. Wearing a white shirt today. Anyway, just real quick. It's a very quick, easy thing to use. Last week, actually, we have to take recertification classes. Yeah, if you'll just pull him out. And this still, even years and years and years after we've started the new ACLS guidelines that talk about the importance of good, consistent CPR, no matter how big you are, I'll get this, no matter how big you are or strong you are, because we have some real stout fellas at the fire department, they still, the number one issue is consistent, highly effective CPR. This takes all of the human aspect out of it. All you have to do is make sure and turn it on. I'm going to walk you through really quick finding a down person that needs CPR and putting the device on them. I'm going to put this down, but I'm going to show you how quick and easily it goes on and how quick it is to use and how effective it is. So here's the Lucas device. Richard said he'd love to be there. I don't really want to have to do CPR. We'll just use the mannequin right now. It comes with a backboard. It's completely impervious to liquids and stuff like that. It doesn't have anything. If a person would do CPR right here, obviously you would want to start with the person doing it because it does take just a second to get this out and going. I'm not going to take up much of your time, but the person doing CPR would not have to stop because of the way it's designed. You can easily go through the person's arms that are doing CPR right there. Put it on. You put it down to the person's chest. You press 2. Now they have to stop. They've taken their arms away, and then there they go. That's all it takes. We've used this numerous times on people since we've gotten it. I don't remember when it was that we got it when we got a loaner. It never gets tired. It never stops. If due to protocol you need to stop it for a second, all you do is push the button. You do a pulse check every 2 minutes. You can do a pulse check. You administer drugs. You can intubate. They've given us classes on how to intubate the person, get an advanced airway with this device going. It's not that hard. It does, and it's a plastic magnet, so it's going to make a little noise, but it does everything consistently. It does effective CPR. If anybody's ever seen the show Nightwatch, they follow around the New Orleans EMS, they have these devices. Numerous places have reported that since they started this, using this device, they have to come up with what they call conscious sedation CPR. Think about that for a second. Your heart is not beating, but you're awake and you see what's going on. You can't really, it's not like it's going to give you blood pressure enough to argue and tell them to stop, but they're awake. They'll look at you, which is one of the best questions we had, and we had a really great conversation. I wasn't here. I was in Houston when James took it to the Lions Club and to the Kiwanis Club. Thank you, guys, all of you guys, so much. This means so much to us because not only does this do effective CPR, but one of the main injuries that we suffer as firemen is doing CPR because we don't want to quit. In the truck, the way the cots are set up in our current trucks, the distance from my knees to my toes is perfect to lock me into the side of the truck. And when the crazy guy behind the wheel is driving like a crazy man to get to the hospital, I can stay put and do CPR. It's very hard to change out people because our trucks are smaller. We don't have room for a person on the other side, but it works to prevent that. We had a call a couple months ago, 6 or 8 months ago, and we actually had rocks thrown at us because we stopped CPR to put him on the cot and then get him in the truck. We couldn't put a fireman on top of the cot and put him in the truck that way. We did have to stop. It was probably 15 seconds to put him in the truck, and the crowd was upset that we stopped CPR, and we thus got. And the police were there, and the police were more than being effective. At least they didn't come after us. They were throwing rocks from afar. But this should help even that because once this is on and it starts CPR, it continues CPR. It'll do 45 minutes on the one battery. It's very quick and easy to replace, and it'll pick right up and go again right where it was. We can plug it in and charge it. It has a guard port where it'll never stop CPR. Don't get me wrong, if you have to do CPR longer than the battery goes, you might need to do something else, but they always ask how big of a person will it take, how small of a person will it take. If you can get this around the person, it'll do CPR on them. The first rattle out of the box was a person they had to may fit inside the Lucas device, and it did very good CPR. As far as too small, people ask, well, why won't it go to a small person? If I put it here, it'll do that. If I push a little farther, it tells me, nope, you can't do that. That person's too thin. But those people are not the ones we hurt ourselves working on. Those people are a lot easier to do effective CPR on. So I think this is a great addition to the fleet, to the fire department, to the EMS that we've got locally. It will really help us serve the public better, and it goes a long way to show the care and concern that the groups, the local civic organizations have for this community. And I really applaud y'all's fundraising efforts, because this will hopefully get us to our second unit where we can have them on both first out trucks. We have 4 ambulances, but we use 2 that are always the first ones out on anything we go on. And the other 2 hopefully stay there for backup. There have been numerous times lately they've all, except Med 2, which is currently down out of the house, but we're working on that too. So thank you guys so much. So grateful and appreciative of y'all's efforts.
Thank you, Grant. Okay, we'll now move to item 5, which is to approve the minutes for the meetings held on September 12th, September 19th, and September 26th, 2017.
Move that be approved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. We'll now move to item 6A, which is to approve reappointment of Ray Chittum, Cheryl Roden, and Keith Clower, whose terms will expire October 2017 as Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the City of Sweetwater.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll now move to item 6B, which is to approve the quarterly investment report for the quarter ending September 30th, 2017. Any questions for Patty?
Move we approve the investment report. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll now move to item 6C, which is discuss, consider, and act upon resolution making certain commitments regarding the intended future of economic development programs for the City of Sweetwater.
And gentlemen, this is an item up for your consideration this morning, to, just like it says, to consider making certain commitments regarding the intended future use of economic development programs for the City of Sweetwater. What that means specifically is the potential municipal development district that is under consideration during next month's November 7th election. What I wanted to do at this point is really point out the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the resolution. There are 4 points that are contained in the resolution for your consideration, and I'll just go over each of those here for the benefit of the public. We just really want to be transparent with what's in the draft resolution, and if we can get some assistance getting that out to the public, we'll publish this meeting immediately after on our YouTube page, and if we always get a great assistance from the reporter in trying to get word out to the public about the things that we do here during these meetings. So item 6C, part 1 of the resolution states that the City Commission intends to commit the existing undesignated economic development funds of the Sweetwater Enterprise for Economic Development to the future authorized projects of the Sweetwater Municipal Development District, if such a district is created, and intends that no undesignated economic development funds of seed will be retained by the city for general fund use. Part 2 states that as the fiscal agent for the undesignated economic development funds, the City of Sweetwater will pay any costs associated with the transition from seed to the MDD from these funds until such a time as the MDD is set up as its own entity and is able to operate independently. These costs could include legal fees, MDD staff salaries and benefits, and other operating and maintenance costs of the MDD. The city would continue to act as the fiscal agent until those functions can be handed over to the newly created MDD. Part 3 of the draft resolution, that the City Commission intends to accomplish said commitment of funds through the execution of an interlocal agreement with the Sweetwater Municipal Development District. And Part 4, that the City Commission specifically intends for any such interlocal agreement to include provisions stating that the current seed board members shall be among the original members of the Sweetwater MDD, that the current seed staff members shall constitute the staff of the MDD, that the City Commission shall approve any projects of the MDD with an expenditure exceeding $15,000, and that the City Commission shall provide the MDD the initial bylaws that the City Commission desires the district to adopt and abide by. I'll just go back on a couple of these just to further explain. SEED currently has an amount of undesignated funds in their accounts. By law, if the SEED is abolished and the MDD is created by state law, those funds come to the city, and we hold those funds until the MDD is created. There would be an amount of time there, a several month gap where the SEED no longer exists, and that money has to go somewhere. And so by law, those funds come to the city, and the City Commission can decide to send all or part or none of those funds back to the MDD. That's the way that the law is written. If the commission decides to approve the language here, they're saying that they're going to send back all of those funds to the MDD, minus any kind of legal fees or administrative fees that we would incur during the setup of the MDD. We have incurred some legal fees up to this point, and will continue to do so until the MDD is created. So all of that money minus the legal fees and any other costs associated with the transition from SEED to the MDD, that will be paid by those designated funds that we hold at that time. And the balance or the remainder of those funds, which will be the vast majority of those dollars, will be sent back to the MDD. The MDD board, along with the City Commission, will decide how to expend those funds and what projects they want to pursue and what projects would be eligible. So that's kind of what that means, really Part 1 and Part 2. Part 3 is just talking about the interlocal agreement between the newly created MDD and the city, just who's responsible for what. We have one in place right now that's pretty typical. It just outlines, like I said, who's responsible for what functions. And then Part 4 really says a couple of things. The SEED board members that are in place now shall be the MDD board members if and when the transition takes place. Current SEED staff right now would be the members of the MDD. If and when that transition to the MDD takes place, any expenditure exceeding $15,000 that the MDD wants to pursue has to be approved by the City Commission. That's the threshold on any projects. Anything below that, the Commission is saying with this vote that the MDD could just take those projects on, but anything above $15,000, the City Commission is going to have to vote on whether those projects go forward or not. According to state law, MDDs do not require bylaws. That's another thing that the state of Texas says. The MDDs do not require bylaws. By voting on this resolution, the City Commission recognizes that, but is also saying that the MDD will have bylaws. There's nothing saying that the MDD cannot. So again, by voting on this, the City Commission is saying we want a set of bylaws that the MDD is going to have to abide by, and a lot of these things will be included in the bylaws. The bylaws will be voted on by the MDD board, and then subsequent to that, kicked on up to this City Commission for final approval and ratification of those bylaws. And that'll be done at the appropriate time we're a little ahead of ourselves on that, and we wouldn't necessarily sit down and start making bylaws right now. We haven't had even one of the 2 votes that's required to switch from C to the MDD. But once that is taken care of, we'll sit down with the MDD board at the time, with the city commission, and we'll figure out a set of bylaws that everybody can agree on and abide by. So that's all I had, and again, just really wanted to go over the 4 main parts of this draft resolution that's up here on the table for the commission's approval. And so if anybody has any questions, we're glad to answer them at this time.
I would just add that I think it's the intent of the city commission that if an MDD is created, that it operate as closely to the pattern that's been established by SEED in the past. It's been a good working relationship between our economic development arm and the city, and we want to try and mirror that if we do make this change to a MDD. I would like to move adoption of this resolution with the following change, that the 3rd whereas should read, whereas the SEED Board of Directors during their July 2017 meeting formally recommended to the Sweetwater City Commission to change from a Type A Economic Development Corporation to a Municipal Development District. Second, with that amendment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll now read the resolution into the record. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Sweetwater, Texas, making certain commitments regarding the intended future of economic development programs for the City of Sweetwater, establishing an intended course of action, providing a severability clause, and an effective date. All right, we'll now move to item 6D, which is discuss and consider approval to change order number 1, elevated storage tank water line project.
I believe you have in your packets a copy of this change order. This change order was developed as basically a as-built quantities change order. The line is in. We encountered a few elevation changes in the connection points at both ends that were not anticipated. That resulted in the additional fittings that were required. And the big part of this change order is in the bid item, when we had the bid, we were not certain exactly where we were putting all the PRVs, and so we had 2 different sizes in the bid. We had 2 2.5 inch and 3 6-inch PRVs. After our discussion with staff and our modeling, we came up with a need for 4 6-inch and no 2.5 inch. So this adjusts those quantities and results in a net increase of $14,280 that we recommend be approved.
Move approval of the change order. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move to item 6E, which is discuss and consider approval of work order number 7 for additional environmental design, bidding, and construction phase services for the 2016 Texas Water Development Board Water System Improvement Project.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Commission. For the record, my name is Sage Diller with EHT. Before you, this is work order number 7 that's proposed for the additional environmental clearance, design, bidding, and construction phase services for the remaining Water Development Board funds. As you will recall, one of the previous meetings we discussed that there's approximately $1.5 million in funds remaining. We discussed the projects that are proposed. The Water Development Board has approved those preliminarily, that they are consistent with the funds that have been approved. So what we've done, if you recall back in 2015 when we started the project, we had work orders 1 through 6. So what I have done here is amended those work orders into one work order number 7 that's currently being proposed for $104,500. And like I said, that will cover the environmental clearance, the design, TCQ coordination, bidding, construction management, and construction phase services. Upon your approval, we will get going. The TCQ approval for some of the proposed improvements will take approximately 60 to 90 days. So we're eager to get that going and submit it to them as soon as possible. If there's any other questions, hopefully I can answer those.
I move we approve this work order number 7. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Sage.
Okay, we'll now move to item 6F, which is a public hearing to consider a request to close an undeveloped alley in Block 6 of J.E. Stalling subdivision to the city of Sweetwater between Canfield Street and Park Avenue from Bluff Street west to dead end.
I move we enter into public hearing. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have anyone who wish to speak? Motion to close the public hearing.
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does the commission have any questions for Kirk Harris?
Kirk, is this a request by a landowner or property owner or?
Your own.
It's a request by all adjoining landowners to the
Okay.
alley.
I move we approve this zoning request. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll now read the ordinance into the record, determining the necessity of closing and abandoning an undeveloped alley in Block 3 of the J.E. Stalling subdivision to the city of Sweetwater between Canford Street and Park Avenue from Buff Street to the west to dead end. City manager's report.
Yes, sir. Have a few things to talk about this morning. Starting with the elevated storage tank update. And John, I have a slide here, and let me know if that's not current. I know that there's been some work done as of yesterday and into this morning even. But the painting is ongoing and I believe nearly complete. Is that right, John? Press and hold the bottom button.
There you go.
The painting, actually, they finished yesterday late. I did a pretty extensive inspection on it yesterday. But they did finish painting the roof yesterday. I thought they were gonna wait and do it today, but they did do it last night. So they should be doing their cleanup and be out of there today or at the very latest tomorrow.
And we're scheduled, the tank would be in service by Thanksgiving and the old tank demolished and removed by the end of the year. Is that correct? Okay. We're having technical difficulties with that microphone.
So the water tower works better than mine.
Yes.
Is that all, John?
Yeah, that is the current schedule. Last schedule I had was that the electrical and control subs were supposed to be on site by the end of the month. And unless that changes and pushes things. I see no reason for that schedule to be accurate.
So electrical controls will be installed by the end of this month. Okay, very good.
All the pressure control valves are in place already, or no?
No, and they, I mean, they're gonna assist in helping operate the system, but it's not critical that they be in place before the tank's placed.
Any other questions for John? Not, we'll move on to the next item. I just kind of wanted to give some updates on the city election dates. We all know, kind of going back to the MDD election will be held on November 7th of this year. That's a Tuesday, but really wanted to go over early voting, which starts, got here pretty quick on us. It'll begin the morning of Monday, October 23rd, and we'll run that the rest of that week through Friday, October 27th, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. here at City Hall. We'll pick it back up again on Monday, October 30th, and run that Tuesday, and then Wednesday, November 1st, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then go ahead and move on to extended voting hours beginning Thursday, November 2nd, and Friday, November 3rd. Those 2 dates are going to be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Again, that's early voting, which will take place here in this room at City Hall on those dates. And then, of course, you've got your Election Day voting sites. Election Day to be held Tuesday, November 7th of this year from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And those are the 5 voting sites that we'll be having the MDD election at: precinct 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9. So if we can get help pushing that out, we'll do our best to push that out on social media, on our website, and all that. In fact, it is on our website. We've got the notice of election days and places and times on our website. We'll push that out on social media as well as we lead up to the beginning of our early voting on the 23rd. And then again, just to kind of go over it one more time, the Sweetwater municipal election, the ballot language for the MDD is authorizing the creation of the Sweetwater MDD and the imposition of a sales and use tax at the rate of 0.5% for the purpose of financing development projects beneficial to the district. And that's what the language will say. Whether you vote for it or against it, we just want you to go out and vote. It's important to exercise that right. And if you need any help or any assistance on that, please feel free to give us a call, to talk to Patty directly about that. She's done a great job of helping us get to this point and coordinating the election. With still a lot of work to be done on that. But like I said, it's just important that we all exercise our right to vote by voting either early or on election day, November 7th. And then one more item, the police vehicles update. We're glad that we're to this point with the delivery of our first patrol unit, and we have that unit outside, just beyond those double doors. There's a CID unit that was delivered as well, so we have 2 in our possession. We're kind of going through the patrol unit with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that everything that we needed on that unit has been installed and is functioning properly and all that good stuff. So that inspection is ongoing. We found a few minor things that we need to get with those folks at Silsbee about to make sure that everything is in place and in good working order. There's 6 vehicles yet to be processed and delivered based on the feedback that they get on this one pilot vehicle. They're gonna make those adjustments. So those 6 that are remaining and yet to be delivered, we're very hopeful that they're going to be just like we need them to be based on the feedback that we give them based on the pilot car. And so, like I said, we do have the vehicles out here. What we wanted to do, Chief and I, were to bring the new vehicle and kind of put it alongside the Impala that have been driven into the dirt. So you can compare and contrast really what we had been dealing with as a department versus these new vehicles. They're going to give us a lot more control and maneuverability and speed, and really increases the safety of not only the citizens that we deal with as a department, but especially our officers. And officer safety is, as we all know, is key and paramount. So we'll just go ahead and open these doors after this meeting is adjourned, and anybody that wants to take a look at them, we can get Brian and the Chief, to go ahead and kind of talk about the vehicles and get the sirens going, and I'll put the lights on and all that good stuff. Kind of give a good demo of what we have today and what we'll be driving into the future. And so I got one more item. It's not on the agenda, but I'm going to go ahead and throw caution to the wind anyway. vote on the voting on the tank of the year is ongoing at that URL site on the top of the page. And really what that is just what it sounds like. There's dozens and dozens of tanks around the country. Some are very, very unique and some not so much, but I think we are very competitive with our new tank. Our new tank was nominated as one of the tanks of the year, and voting is ongoing. It closes on the 20th of this month. So if we can get some help from the chamber and the EDC and the newspaper, and we'll do our part through our social media and our website to get the word out to our community that, hey, we think we got the tank of the year here at Sweetwater. And we want to make that known and get folks working on that and voting on it until that closes through the 20th. So I voted. I'm going to, vote early, vote often kind of thing, because this is important for the community. So we'll push that out to the commissioners in the community. And like I said, if we can get some help from you fine folks sitting in the audience to help us get the word out, we'd appreciate it. And Mr. Mayor, that's all I had.
Thanks, sir. Public input. Anybody wish to speak? If not, I'll call for a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.